Well, welcome back to Finance Uncut. On today's episode, record gold buying. Record gold buying. But the question is, who's buying the gold? Well, one firm is Palantir. Coming in from Bloomberg, Palantir buys gold bars as hedge against Black Swan event. Company spent $50.7 million on 100-ounce gold bars in August, and they can now accept payment for their software in gold or Bitcoin. And why is this significant? Well, Palantir, which is known around the world for its intelligence software, is accepting gold as a form of payment to hedge against Black Swan event. We know moral hazard is everywhere. Central banks are out of control and asset prices are just at nosebleed levels. This is why powerful companies and governments rely on them for intelligence. They know what's going on. And who are their clients? Well, Palantir's customers are the US Army, the US Navy, the CIA, IBM, and Amazon. Its intelligence software is used in 150 countries, and customers can now pay in gold. Pay attention. Now let's cut to a clip from CNBC.
Call it a $50 million mystery. Data analytics company Palantir buying more than $50 million worth of, get this, gold bars in August. According to a regulatory filing, the company is able to take physical possession of the gold at any time with reasonable notice. We reached out to Palantir to find out why they wanted gold on their books. They didn't respond to our request for a comment. Karen, you sort of did some fine print, looking at the fine print on this one. What'd you find?
Well, a little bit. So it was in the 10Q, which is what they released the other day. It talked about this August purchase. So this wouldn't be on the balance sheet that they had in the 10Q. So we don't know how they're going to treat it. Remember, we talked about Bitcoin and how it would be treated on Tesla's balance sheet, and that it would be at the fluctuation down. They would have to mark it down, but not up. I don't know if that would be the same here. I don't recall ever seeing this, except for maybe a gold-related company, and that would be a raw material or a work in process or inventory or something. It's interesting. It's sort of surprising. It's kind of, we were expecting like a Bitcoin or something like that, or an altcoin.
Retro or something. I don't know what you would call it.
It feels kind of like CIA-ish. Like I mean, if you think about also that, at least the relationship that this company has had with the government, and where gold has always been, this strategic reserve dynamic. And look, gold prices. This isn't a conversation about gold, but it's probably an interesting time to be making a longer-term commitment to gold, in my view. I realize, Bitcoin enthusiasts say, why bother? I think gold is proven to be very much a hedge against central banks here.
Guy, give me your best conspiracy theory.
Notice they didn't buy the gold ETF. They bought actual physical
bars
gold bars.
Gold.
It's fascinating. There's no listen, I mean, I could talk about this for an hour, and we only have a minute left. But I would say this is one of those days you bookmark. This is them saying, central banks are out of control, Black Swan event, good for them. And my sense is you're going to see more of that, and maybe them dip their toe into crypto as well.
So the COO of Palantir, Mr. Sankar, said accepting non-traditional forms of payment reflects more of a world view, adding, you have to be prepared for a future with more Black Swan events. Palantir's 100-ounce gold bars are expected to be stored in an undisclosed vault in the US Northeast. The company can take physical possession of the gold bars stored at the facility at any time with reasonable notice, Palantir wrote. And that's the thing. They haven't bought gold as an ETF or some sort of futures contract or whatever. They have bought the physical bars. And they are paying for storage. This is a big deal, folks. None of this comes as a surprise that the loss of faith in those who control the currency, Federal Reserve, cryptocurrencies and precious metals, or physical precious metals, are becoming a popular hedge for when the system implodes. Palantir co-founder Joe Lonsdale was quoted not too long ago saying, idiots are running the Fed. Lonsdale was referencing the unconventional monetary policy that has helped balloon the national debt by over $5 trillion since early March 2020 to $28.4 trillion and set the US dollar on collision course with loss of reserve status. And you know, from this channel, we've talked and shown people like Jeff Gundlach and Stan Druckenmiller and Felix Zalouf, who are all calling for the US dollar to lose its reserve currency status. Some say within the next 5 years. I think it was Gundlach that said by the end of this decade, and Druckenmiller by 2035. What is remarkable is that foreign holders of US Treasury debt accounted for only a quarter of the spike in US national debt. So you can see here on this chart, as US government debt was rising and continues to rise, you can see that foreign holders of that debt is falling. And so you're getting basically the central bank, the Fed, and this is happening, you know, right around the world, is that central banks are now the ones buying government debt, newly issued government debt with newly issued created currency. And, you know, don't believe me how this works? I'll put a link in the description below to a video that George Gammon done with the Fed guy, and you can listen to him, because there's so much noise out there about how the system actually works. I think it's best to actually hear from a senior trader at the Fed who actually conducts these policies. And Palantir's move into physical gold and cryptocurrencies is continuing the global de-dollarization trend. So you can see from this chart, world gold reserves are going up, and this has been significant over the last few years, actually, or at least over the last couple of years, where world treasury holdings have pretty much been going sideways for the past decade. And I've shared in other videos that China, Russia, other countries are now holding more gold as reserves in US treasuries. And there is a move, a global de-dollarization move happening at the moment. Mike Krieger of Liberty Blitzkrieg tweeted about Palantir's gold buying and warning of another black swan event by saying, when the spooks tell you a false flag is coming, a false flag is coming. Folks, it couldn't be clearer. When you see a firm like Palantir buying physical gold, and you're seeing others warning of economic hardship in the future, whether it's through inflation, whether it's through the economy collapsing, whatever it is, you'll want to own some gold, and that's why companies like Palantir are buying gold. But before we get to who else is buying gold, let's just cut to a clip with former Fed insider and economic advisor Danielle DiMartino Booth.
Well, I am going to take you on that optimistic word, Danielle. Hopefully that is the way that one plays out. Before I let you go, I do want to get your thoughts on Palantir. Palantir Technologies buying $50 million in gold bars in August, according to their filing. As we know, Peter Thiel is one of its largest shareholders. But this move is reflecting a growing trend of companies stashing cash in unconventional assets in response to this economic uncertainty. We've got MicroStrategy, Tesla, Square. They're among corporations that have added Bitcoin to their portfolios. Tesla has actually said that it could also add investments in gold bullion. What does this signal to you? Do you see this trend continuing of companies diversifying their cash into other safe haven assets like gold and even Bitcoin?
Well, these moves that companies are making are very bold and vociferous and strong testaments to how far down the rabbit hole central banking, this grand experiment, has gone. They speak to the fact that there is a huge concern about the soundness of the money, about the sanctity of fiat currency, about central banks tearing away by having goals of rising inflation. And I think companies are in their rights to try and safeguard and protect their assets in as to the extent that they can. I'm not surprised to hear this announcement. My greater concern is that these types of moves are disregarded by central bankers, and yet they should not be.
So you see other companies adding gold, perhaps, and or Bitcoin?
You've always got to have a first mover in order to have people, firms, corporations go and follow after them. So yes, I do.
All right. And before I let you go, outlook on gold for the next 6 months.
I have not touched my gold holdings. I look at gold as being also a hedge in the storm when there is disruption. And again, I think that the U.S. political landscape is fraught with risk going forward, and that there's going to be a larger and larger cohort seeking out the stability of gold as we head towards the U.S. midterm elections. So I certainly wouldn't be touching my gold holdings. If anything, I would be adding to them at this juncture.
All right. Well, thank you as always. Appreciate your time. Danielle DiMartino-Booth, thanks for joining us on Kitco.
Thank you for having me.
Central banks have purchased 333.2 tonnes of gold, an increase of 39% over the 5-year average in the first half of 2021, and about 199.9 tonnes during Q2. Surprise, surprise. Now, I've done many videos on this channel about central banks buying, whether it's Thailand, Hungary, China, Russia, you name it. They have been increasing their purchasing of gold, physical gold. Now, if any of you guys speak Portuguese out there, maybe you can translate this one for us. Apparently it says the Brazilian central bank has bought 62.3 tonnes of the metal, but luckily I've got a translation for you. So Brazil's central bank has purchased over 62 tonnes of gold in 3 months through July 2021, raising the nation's reserves to nearly 130 tonnes. Brazil almost doubles its gold reserves in 3 months. That is a big deal, folks. So we're seeing firms like Palantir. We know the big central banks have been buying gold. And smaller countries like Hungary and Thailand have been buying it. I think I heard the other day either Malaysia or Philippines have been buying as well. But it's not just them. Coming in from Business Standard, the RBI, the Reserve Bank of India, buys record gold this year at 700 tonnes, reserves up 27% in 2 years. The Reserve Bank of India has increased its gold purchases as part of its foreign exchange reserves. In the first half of calendar year 2021, the addition of gold to India's forex reserves has been the highest, on a half-yearly basis at 29 tonnes. Now, the RBI's gold holding, as a proportion of its forex reserves, has for the first time crossed 700 tonnes. The central bank's gold reserves stood at 705.6 tonnes as on June 30. The gold reserves were at 558.1 tonnes in the beginning of 2018. The share of go. So here's the thing. For Australians, apparently we've got 11 tonnes of gold sitting in London somewhere that's been leased back to the Perth Mint, if you want to dig deep on that. It's not confirmed, but you've got to dig deep on that. Our central bankers, the RBA, at a parliamentary committee hearing, were asked questions about our gold holdings. And they pretty much said gold's useless, rubbish. We own US Treasuries because we earn a yield on it. You don't get a yield on gold. So Australia, we think we've got all the gold in the ground. But our government, our central bank, owns next to no gold. Apparently it's leased out. And our central bankers don't think gold's worth owning. Are they not seeing what other central bankers are doing? And when we look at the Swiss gold exports to China and India, so you can see that this year, India have been buying large amounts of gold. Now, yep, in the last couple of months, that has slowed down. And China's gold imports from Switzerland have been quite strong as well. Now, when we have a look at this gold chart from Tavi at Crescat Capital, we can see that gold seems to be stuck in a trading range, but it does look similar to the mid-2000s, which did precede a major run-up in price. And if you actually have a look at that, it is about a 5x move. So the question is gold about to make a similar move? Is it about to make a move upwards and possibly go up 5x like it did in the mid-2000s, or is it going down? Well, at the moment, we do have some manipulation. We know that. Basel III, I'll do a video on that shortly. There seems to be some people saying that Basel III actually is going to stop a lot of the manipulation, that the banks can only become a clearinghouse. And so we'll explore that in another video coming soon. But there's talk that the economy is about to ramp back up and interest rates are going to rise, and no one's going to want gold anymore because the economy is coming back. Well, I think that's a false narrative, and also inflation is transitory. I think both of those are false narratives, and eventually when the market does wake up to that false narrative, I think that's when we're going to see gold start to make a move again, and then that's going to more and more players move into the space. We're seeing companies like Palantir that are buying physical gold, and I'm expecting more companies like that to start to follow suit. And so, yes, I'm still bullish on gold and silver moving forward. They have been smacked down a little bit. For me, I've been using that as an opportunity to buy, to accumulate some more of my physical, but also add to my positions in things like the Sprott Physical Trust and also in my gold and silver miners. Anyway, that's what I think, guys. What do you guys think? Love to see your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. If you like this video, give us that thumbs up. Really do appreciate it. Anyway, guys, take care, and I'll see you again on another episode of Finance Uncut.